New rituals might be a good thing for you. New practices, new words, new ways to travel from one space to the other. What I think of are simply some ideas, some examples. Creating playlists, songs that you can listen to that will help serve as movement from this space of negativity to this space of compassion, right? You can formulate a mantra that you always speak, that you like know that I can go to these words and I can speak this phrase and it's going to serve me well. You can consider finding a trail or a path to walk or run or hike. What I'm thinking of is like Eastern traditions when they had labyrinths and stairs that they would climb, and it served as this like physical ritual that they could do to help enact their heart and mind and engage a part of themselves. And so maybe you can find a new ritual to do. Maybe it's like taking negative self-talk out of your mind, and writing it down and ripping it up, burning it, or mailing it with no return address, or burying it somewhere. Maybe you need a new ritual to help you move into that space of compassionate self-talk. I just want you to think about anything that would help tap into your mind and heart and help you move into that space, because rituals can help us do that. Now, it's not, like I always talk with people and share ideas, and sometimes people feel really busy and they just say, I don't need one more thing to do. And if you're that person and you're listening to this and you're like, Phil, I don't need something else to do, something else to create, something else to try and figure out, I'm going to suggest that you put your attention, energy, and focus on undoing then, on unlearning. And this might be harder work, right? It's the work of disruption, disruption. I know the negative self-talk seems, almost natural, almost normal, because we have been doing it for a long time. You've formed some pretty good grooves, maybe. Yeah, some deep ones. You've had a lot of practice. Maybe you've had negative self-talk going on for 42 years. And now the opposite seems unnatural, right? To speak to yourself in a compassionate, loving, and considerate way. So we need to undo. We need to unlearn. We need to disrupt the rituals of negative self-talk. Those things that are there that like seem almost automatic, almost like default. And like any muscle, we've exercised it enough that it's become very strong and very easy and very simple. So it makes sense that it might be difficult to break those kinds of habits, to break those patterns and to take a new path and to form that into a groove over time. We have established patterns. We have those, and they're going to be difficult to break. But perhaps what you need to do is that tough work. It's going to take effort, it's going to take energy, and it's going to be tough. I know some of my, I guess you would say, rituals of negative self-talk. If I start to go to that place in my mind, like I will get quiet, I will be distracted. I know that I tend to pull myself away from people who might speak otherwise, which isn't the best thing, right? But I'm just telling you, honest to God, like heart to heart, like some of those things that I know. Isolation, absence, just like I can pick songs to help move me into a better space. I can also pick songs to reinforce perhaps the anger and frustration and disappointment that I feel in myself, the resentment that is there. Sometimes I know that we can punish ourselves in different ways, right? And so, like, we have rituals of negative self-talk too. We have those. And perhaps it's worth your time, it's worth your energy to become aware of those patterns and to disrupt them in ways that you find possible. I'm not sure what your specific ways are, your negative self-talk rituals, but think about it and consider what pattern you can disrupt right away at the onset, on the beginning, to make a difference. I already mentioned my son Silas, he's 18. I remember back when he was in first grade. And when he was in first grade, we found this little letter, this little note inside of his room, and it had all the names of all the boys in his first grade class on the sheet. And next to their names were little marks, little tallies. And so when we had time to sit down with them, we said, hey, Silas, what are these tallies? What is this note all about? Tell us. And he proudly explained to us that he wasn't quite sure who to invite to his birthday party this year, but he had devised a system to figure that out. And so he was keeping score of who did things for him, who was nice to him, who wasn't nice to him. And every time that someone was nice to him or did something for him or helped him or whatever, he would give them a mark, and people who didn't have a mark hadn't done anything for him. And then when it was time for his birthday, he was like, I'm going to know exactly who to send these invitations out to. So he explained that to us, and we sat him down and we had a nice long talk. We kind of set him straight a little bit. But that story stands out to me because with all the good rituals, with all the positive rituals, and with all the negative rituals, I think one thing that we're very good at with ourselves is keeping score. And those scorecards that we keep are so heavy and so exhausting. And they're just not a great way to live. They're not a great burden to carry around. When we keep score against ourselves, we have access to this stuff that can create a flood of emotions within ourselves that is simply, like I said, a burden we don't need to carry. It's something we don't need any longer. And when we're talking about being compassionate to ourselves, these scorecards do not help. I used to DJ events. I remember one time in particular when I showed up, and it was like upstairs. There was an elevator, but it was slow, so I was lugging tons of equipment, up and down, up and down, up and down. The heaviest stuff, of course, sure went in to the elevator. There was only one of me, though, and there was a lot of stuff. And by the time I got it all in, and what I used that night, I remember just kind of evaluating, being like, what am I doing? Carrying all this stuff around. I didn't even use half of it. It was like backup stuff. You know what I mean? But I brought it in. Like, the scorecards are like that. It's just too much. It's unnecessary. Like, we can just leave it behind. We can drop it. And we can move forward with what we truly need to move us into those compassionate spaces for ourselves, to help us with the conversations inside of our hearts and inside of our minds. Reality is, you're going to have good and bad days. That's reality. You're going to practice patterns that help you. You're also going to practice patterns that hurt you. You're going to have rituals in your life that set you free and bring life. And you're going to have rituals that bury you and contribute